Thank you, Madam President. And I would also like to thank Officer in Charge and Deputy SRSG UNAMA, Georgette Gagnon, and Director Vasonu for their briefings. And we also take note of the contribution by Ms. Mehran. We take note of the Secretary General's report. Madam President, it's been nearly half a decade since the Taliban takeover, and it was hoped this will end bloodshed and Afghanistan will be at peace with itself and its neighbors. And to help our Afghan brethren, Pakistan took numerous steps to support Afghanistan, including humanitarian relief efforts, political engagement, providing incentives to boost bilateral trade, offering transit concessions, issuing student and medical visas, conducting high-level visits to Kabul, and participating in various regional cooperation initiatives to help Afghanistan succeed in its quest to find its rightful place in the international community. With the end of civil war, it was anticipated that the Taliban would take positive steps to transform into a responsible governing authority by adhering to their international obligations and commitments, and that they will lead Afghanistan into an era of stability and progress, provide the long-awaited relief to all Afghans, and live in harmony with immediate neighbors. Madam President, for decades, terrorism has been a major problem in Afghanistan, with implications not just for Afghanistan but the immediate neighborhood and beyond. Afghanistan has a history of being a safe haven for terrorist groups, including those used as proxies by our adversaries to target Pakistan and other countries. It was our expectation that the Taliban would take concrete and verifiable actions against terrorist groups such as the TTP, PLA and its Majid Brigade, ISIL-K, ETIM, and their affiliates that are operating with impunity on Afghan soil. Regrettably, they have failed to undertake action, showing complete disregard for the legitimate security concerns of Pakistan and other countries. Besides independent analysis that is present, the reports of the Analytical Support and Sanctions Monitoring Team that clearly outline the terrorism problem in Afghanistan, and the on-ground realities and recent exponential rise in terrorist attacks in Pakistan. These are glaring reminders of the precarious situation faced today and the threats posed to international peace and security. As a direct result of the freedom with which these terrorist groups operate in Afghanistan, Pakistan has borne the brunt of their attacks, as well as Taliban's growing nexus with these terrorist groups. And once again, a significant number of Afghans are found to be involved in terrorism inside Pakistan. These terrorist groups have access to advanced weapons and sophisticated equipment, including drones also recently. And much of this can be traced back to the multi-billion-dollar worth of arms and ammunition left behind by foreign forces, which was meant for use by the previous Afghan national government. During our counter-terrorism operations, there have been more than 290 cases of seizures of such weapons, which are used for terrorism and suicide bombings in the western parts of Pakistan, and which have exacted a heavy toll of human life and material losses. In 2025 alone, Pakistan suffered more than 5,300 terrorist incidents, and lost more than 1,200 lives to terrorism emanating from Afghanistan. And last month, a vehicle-borne IED attack by the TTP on a police post in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa on 9th May martyred 15 police officers. And our investigations revealed that the attack was planned by terrorists in Afghanistan. It is deplorable that the Taliban have reverted back to their old tactics of providing safe havens to terrorist groups and chosen the perilous path of complicity backed by an outside actor, the historic spoiler and instigator of chaos, and that has moved fast as an opportunist to wage a proxy war against Pakistan. Let me make it clear. Pakistan will defend itself against whosoever attempts to harm our sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national security. Madam President, Pakistan has always expressed openness for dialogue, and numerous diplomatic efforts were made to counsel the Taliban. And we thank friendly countries for their genuine mediation efforts, particularly Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and most recently China, to find amicable solutions. Yet the Taliban's continued intransigence and even refusal to publicly denounce and condemn terrorist groups such as the TTP and BLA is deeply disturbing. It is evidence enough of their complicity and active support for these groups. Pakistan will not sit idle while suffering from terrorist acts. We will respond in self-defense as and when needed, and always in conformity with international law, including IHL. Madam President, the most recent report of the Secretary General seems to largely externalize the responsibility for Afghanistan's multifaceted challenges. The fatalities of terrorists and their supporters as a result of counterterrorism operations are mentioned within the ambit of civilian casualties, posing serious questions on the credibility of UNAMA's reporting from Afghanistan and the nature of their engagement with the Taliban. UNAMA is swift in reporting incidents of cross-border actions and casualties, but fails to provide the overall context, which is the grave terrorist threat emanating from Afghanistan and its cross-border impact directed at Pakistan that is harming Pakistan and killing innocent Pakistanis. Neither the Secretary General's report provides information on the destabilizing accumulation of small arms and light weapons inside Afghanistan, nor does it adequately shed light on Afghanistan's illicit economy with its complex web of money laundering and terror financing networks, including Hundi and Hawala networks. Instead, the report resorts to shift the blame on external dynamics with little regard for the Taliban's own policies that have brought Afghanistan to the brink of disaster. We must not lose sight of the fact that it is Taliban's reckless style of governance and flawed ideologies of extremism, suppression, and radicalization that have brought upon Afghanistan the calamities it faces today. The humanitarian needs and response plan for 2026, as we are told, is underfunded at 14%, which again a direct result of Taliban's unwillingness to prioritize the welfare of Afghans over their own interests and authoritarian control. Well, President, several references have been made to the closure of border. Let me clarify that the closure of border between Pakistan and Afghanistan does not, from Pakistan's perspective, affect the movement of humanitarian supplies. Pakistan has been processing and facilitating the passage of humanitarian goods and material. However, the Afghan Taliban regime refuses to let them pass and keeps the border closed on its side, even to receive such life-saving cargoes, and which obviously is to the detriment of the Afghan people. The worsening situation of human rights is also aligned with Taliban's failings and deceitful narrative to meet the demands of the international community. Women and girls are denied their fundamental human rights and dignity, with discriminatory and abusive practices, a clear violation of their international obligations as well as of Islamic laws, traditions, and tenets of the Muslim faith. The Afghan people are being held hostage to these inhumane restrictions, oppression, and selfish behavior. Madam President, for over 4 decades, Pakistan welcomed millions of Afghan refugees despite limitations and insufficient international support, dealing with huge caseloads of illegal Afghans, including without documentation, posing a serious threat to our security. But these were never meant to be indefinite stays. We call upon the Secretary General to clearly outline the status of third country resettlement cases of Afghans in a transparent manner. Cases that are pending for years, despite being a tiny fraction of what Pakistan had to deal with in the face of national security threats, and that no country would tolerate. While we provide all possible facilitation, the international community must step up and shoulder its responsibility. Shifting the blame of Afghanistan's woes to the inflow of Afghan returnees will not solve the problem. Madam President, we look forward to the next steps of the UN-led Doha process and action plan for its mosaic approach to address Afghanistan's multifaceted challenges comprehensively, with well-defined objectives and a realistic roadmap as the only viable path for normalization. Pakistan and Afghanistan are bound by geography, deep-rooted ties, civilizational links dating back 2 centuries, fraternal bonds of faith, culture, and ethnicity. No country has suffered more from the consequences of conflict and instability in Afghanistan than Pakistan. So we understand, and we also know that no country stands to benefit more from peace, prosperity, and stability in Afghanistan than Pakistan. Pakistan's demand from the Taliban is simple and clear: verifiable and non-reversible action against terrorists. Regrettably, this demand remains unmet. The window for course correction is narrowing, but is still open. We hope the Taliban realize this in earnest and cooperate with the international community for long-term peace and development of Afghanistan, and above all, in the best interest of all Afghans. I thank you.